And good morning.
Good morning.
I see Steve drew first blood.
Yes.
Or at least it appears here. It appears. Who knows? We might have had 1,000 apparently.
Nah, the Restream bot would have let us know that we had 1,000 comments. Patricia says, good morning, Steve, Chris, Cam, and all.
Oh, Trish said good morning to Steve first. He's not even on the show.
And who's all?
Patrick.
It's dad jokes. Dad jokes. Hey. 10-0, baby. 10-0.
Was that a thing?
That is absolutely a thing. 10-0.
Well, good for them.
It is good.
I mean,
look, that's going to be.
Hey, undefeated is undefeated. I don't care if you're playing football or Magic.
Yeah. And so basically, looking for 15-0 because that means national champions.
At 15-0, don't you just skip it?
No, the 15th game would be the national title game. Yeah, there's 2 regular games left, and then there's 2 bowl games that are going to function as the playoff, and then boom, and then the national title game.
Hey, Geraldine's with us this morning. Good morning, sunshine. Good to see you. Hope you had a good walk.
In the 35-degree weather.
Hey, please believe cardio is its own warm blanket.
Yes. Yeah, it's chilly here in Georgia this morning. So, are we even gonna touch the Britney Spears thing, or are we going straight to ban it?
Well, I mean, since you said something.
Well,
I don't particularly care to discuss the Britney Spears thing in great detail because I just don't care. But sure, we can let's tap on it just a little bit. Britney Spears is free.
Yeah. Well, look, here's 2 reasons why I want to bring it up. Like, look, she's our age and all that. Like, literally, she's our age, right? You're tracking that, okay? So somebody our age was prevented for, like, over a decade from having kids or... Like, she could totally release new albums, and she could go on tour, and each one of her shows would make a net profit of tens of thousands of dollars. Oh, Steve said straight to Bannon. Whoops. Sorry, Steve. But look, the whole conservatorship thing, and this is why I want to touch on it, executed in California.
Yes.
All right? And that's not to say that Britney did not have a very obvious meltdown. She did. But it's not like her dad was her conservator for 90 days.
Right.
Right? And even 90 days, I'd be a little, okay.
Well, and the whole conservatorship program it begs corruption. Because if you find yourself in a situation like what Miss Spears found herself in, basically, once you're in the conservatorship, once your freedom has been taken away from you by the court, then you find yourself in a position where there's somebody who is making your decisions for you, and that person has an obvious profit motive to continue making those decisions for you. And in a case like Britney Spears, that person, part of the decisions that person is now making have to do with the legal counsel surrounding the decision-making and the administration of the conservatorship, which means that everybody who's making arguments related to the legal extension and retention of the existence of that conservatorship only continues to get paid as long as that conservatorship continues to exist. So, literally everybody in the equation except for the victim, this being the victim in this case being Britney Spears. Every single person in the case, with the exception of the victim, has an obvious and perpetuating profit motive to guarantee the continuation of the conservatorship.
Yeah, I forget the exact amount, but it was either like $10,000 a week or $10,000 a month. And even if it's $10,000 a month, that sounds like 10,000 motives to me.
It does. And I mean, even $10,000 a year,
it's still motive.
That's not huge money, but that's not nothing.
Yeah, that'd fund your cigarette habit.
Yeah.
Okay, but look,
By the way, every time I buy cigarettes or gas, I just want to slap a Democrat.
okay, but here's the other thing, and especially since this comes out of California, because that's where her conservatorship was conservatored. I'm not real sure about the legal language there. Executed, but no, nobody was executed in this case.
But executed is the correct verb in this context. Yes.
Okay, so she was not allowed to have kids, and apparently one of the reasons why she decided to fight back against the conservatorship is she and her long-term boyfriend want to have a child together, and they can't because she's had an IUD implanted against her will. Excuse me. Putting aside all the creepiness, because, yeah, that's creepy, okay? But this is out of California. You know, California. Like, super liberal, woke California that, despite having huge, giant counties of red, has got enough blue cancer in it to perpetually stay blue, right? The kind of place where abortions are always going to be done in California, right? Yep. What happened to My Body, My Choice? If there's a single line you could pluck out of this whole thing with Britney Spears that would just have that emotional gut shot, it would be the fact that she's had an IUD apparently for some time and doesn't want it. So what happened to My Body, My Choice?
It's never been about My Body, My Choice. The Democrat is not pro-choice. The Democrat is not pro-freedom. Ever. Right? No. The fact of the matter is they're pro-abortion. Just like I've pointed out many times, at the very core, the Democrat philosophy, the very core of their moral basis is it is morally preferable to take by force and give to someone who does not deserve it than it is to earn by labor and creativity and initiative and ingenuity. Similarly, they are not pro-choice. They are pro-abortion. They find it morally preferable to kill babies than to raise them.
Well, and look, here's the thing. This is where I kind of want to. This is what I was leading up to, and I know we want to get to Bannon, but this is important. Okay, you want to know why we have a problem with authoritative government? You want to know why we have a problem with socialized medicine and all that?
One-child policy.
No, that's not even what I was going to say. It was like, you can take this example with Britney Spears and you can extrapolate it forward. Because please believe that we are on the doorstep of having the wrong think means you're not allowed to have children. And that's not really a reach. Because if it could happen in California to a woman that should be the example of I am female, hear me roar. Because even while all this was going on, Britney Spears continued to generate millions of dollars for everybody involved in this situation. Go back and listen to her testimony when she went before the judge to try and get the conservatorship dismissed. She tripped over her words somewhat and obviously was not very well versed in the legality of the situation. But in some ways that made her testimony even more compelling because she went in and just said, look, I don't need this, okay? I've been a pro at this for decades now. I can go in and put together my own show and make a lot of money and pay all my bills. I don't need this conservatorship anymore. So if somebody like her can have this done to her, you, me, whoever, there's no hope for you.
And if you've ever wondered why we have a Second Amendment and why the framers were explicit that the point of the Second Amendment is to counteract corrupt government, there it is right there.
Funny that it came out of one of those left-leaning states. Just saying.
I don't think it's funny or surprising at all that a left-leaning state showed us a perfect example of why you need a Second Amendment. especially since it's one that has essentially abolished it.
Yeah. Again, it's not really the right-wing states that do this kind of stuff.
You mean like Chaz, Chop? Yeah.
Yeah, those things don't really happen here. So, anyhow, but that's that.
So let's move on to Bannon. And we're going to have to, I'm probably actually going to call it about 5 minutes early today because I got to get out the door. Let's move on to Bannon, the Bannon indictment. And I'll tell you right now, we need to adjust the camera, but we need to adjust the camera before tomorrow. We're both in the frame, but we're...
Yeah. I thought we needed to keep moving.
It's bothering me. Anyway, so Bannon has been indicted. Steve Bannon has been indicted on contempt of Congress charges. And there's a lot to say here. The first thing that needs to be said here is Bannon is being indicted on contempt of Congress for refusing to hand over documents that were subpoenaed.
Well, and he didn't show up for the deposition.
Well, more importantly, the documents in question, there's quite a raft of them, are probably not all protected by executive privilege, but at least some are. And there has been no adjudication on the question of executive privilege with relation to communications between Donald Trump and Steve Bannon. Now, so you've got two major issues there. Personal communications are private. That's without serious reasonable cause, without serious probable cause, you cannot simply violate someone's Fourth Amendment rights and confiscate their papers, right? You're securing your person's properties and papers. But even beyond that, amid these are almost certainly included at least some documents that are covered by the rules of executive privilege. And none of this has been adjudicated to determine that. So that the Congress has issued a subpoena on those documents at all is naked corruption.
Yeah, it's
naked, politically motivated corruption.
It's a little squirrely there.
So at the very face of it, what Bannon is doing is he is defying. We're talking a little bit about the difference between breaking the law and defying the law. Breaking the law, going and committing a willful act.
Like being a rioter?
For example. Or supporting rioters.
Yeah.
Or, Article 3, Section 3, a great example is providing material or financial support to active enemies of the United States. Like, for example, an insurrection movement. Right. Right. By the way, there is a good case to be made for RICO charges that suck up the Democrat Party with BLM. What was it? The Vote Blue movement. The Blue something financiers. BLM, Planned Parenthood, Antifa. That is by definition and beyond controversy one big criminal conspiracy. I do not say this flippantly. I say that advisedly. And the receipts are public record. It is clear that the Democrat National Committee is engaged in RICO-able criminal activity in conjunction with the aforementioned terrorist organizations like Planned Parenthood, Planned Parenthood.
Yeah. So,
yes, Planned Parenthood is a terrorist organization.
Oh, I wasn't going to even argue that. So I'm just going to chew through a little bit of this to lay down the groundwork because there's a little bit here that needs to be touched on. A federal grand jury charged Bannon with 2 counts of contempt of Congress, according to a Department of Justice press release published Friday. Bannon was hit with the charges for failing to appear for a deposition in front of the House Select Committee to investigate the January 6 attack on the U.S. Capitol and for not handing over requested documents in the face of the committee's subpoena, according to DOJ. No arraignment date has been set yet, according to the release, and the subpoena said the committee had reason to believe that Bannon had information relevant to understanding events related to January 6th. Bannon, formerly a street strategist and counselor... Shut up. Shut up, shutting up. chief strategist and counselor to the president, has been a private citizen since departing the White House in 2017. Bannon is expected to self-surrender on Monday and appear in federal court that afternoon, according to a Justice Department official. The House voted 229 to 202 to hold Bannon in contempt last month on August 21st. Reps Peter Nope and Fred Upton of Michigan, John Katko of New York, Nancy Mace of South Carolina, blah, blah, blah. Here we go. Attorney General Merrick Garland said Friday's charges reflect the DOJ's steadfast commitment to showing the American people that they follow the rule of law.
God, look at that picture. I wish I'd have seen that picture for the thumbnail. My God, the man looks like a mouse.
He does.
Sick mouse.
You know, to me, he looks like if his face were blue, he'd be a Muppet on Sesame Street. Like Grover's creepy uncle.
Yes. So, the real story here, honestly, has very little to do with Bannon. The real story here, that this is occurring, right? We need to talk about Merrick Garland. All right. Way back down the memory hole, remember Obama wanted Merrick Garland to be on the Supreme Court.
Let me be clear.
And if you'll remember the rhetoric, the claim was, oh, he's a real down the middle of the road kind of guy. He's not a liberal or a conservative. He's
bullshit.
He's a real moderate operator. And Cocaine Mitch, like,
nope.
Negative. So
elections have consequences.
You fast forward a little bit, and Donald Trump has an opportunity to make some appointments toward the end of his term, and the arguments are made, well, it's hypocrisy that the Republicans are going to shit up your noses. It's not hypocrisy. When Obama tried to cram in his guy, the Republicans had the political capital and authority to prevent that travesty from happening. When Trump was ready to stick his people in, the Republicans had the political authority and capital to make that happen. And that's what happened, and that's politics.
Yeah, elections have consequences.
And it's not only politics. I mean, those are the rules of the system. That's not just gamesmanship. It's that way by design.
Well,
now,
Obama even said in the beginning of his presidency, "Why aren't you listening to John McCain?" And he said, "Well, we won." I mean,
yeah,
that's for better or worse. That's how it works.
Let's not forget, Obama wasn't a bad president. Obama was a monster. Obama was a murderer. Obama was a warmonger.
Let me be clear.
A gun-grabbing communist. Obama was and is a domestic enemy of the United States of America.
Well, now he's a guy who lives in Martha's Vineyard. So basically,
make no mistake, he is still the enemy.
Yeah, but I didn't say that he wasn't. I was just making the limousine liberal comment there.
Fair enough.
Okay, so I mean, Merrick Garland was going to be a butt boy. I think that's pretty clear now. And look, when you nominate an AG, you're basically nominating the top cop in America for better or worse, okay? And that's not exactly correct, but that's the closest analogy to make things simple. So if you're going to nominate the top cop for the country, you're going to nominate somebody that is going to have a similar political philosophy to you, or that's going to fulfill a specific role. Like, Trump nominated Jeff Sessions because Jeff Sessions was one of the very first people to come out and say, "Hey, this Trump guy might win. I'm getting on the Trump train, baby." And
Trump didn't have great luck with his AGs.
And then, of course, we know what happened. They railroaded Jeff Sessions. They railroaded General Flynn. There's a lot to go back to and say that if General Flynn and Jeff Sessions had not been shoved aside, the Trump presidency would have been very different and even more successful than it was. But I digress. The point is, Merrick Garland was not appointed Attorney General just because he was owed the favor for getting screwed over at the end of Obama's term. Merrick Garland was appointed Attorney General so that he would be this type of Attorney General. They didn't call Merrick Garland into the White House and say, hey, I want for you to draft a memo that's going to scare the piss out of parents that are protesting at their school boards over critical race theory. Merrick Garland did not need to be given those instructions. Merrick Garland understands what his role is, and his role is to be an authoritative butt boy. He believes in this stuff. And at least in so much, maybe he doesn't personally believe in critical race theory, but he sure as hell believes that it's profitable to the Democrats and the left, and maybe his children. I don't know. It's kind of weird. To push critical. Are you not tracking the fact that it's like his daughter and son-in-law own a company that?
Oh yeah,
okay.
They basically own a consulting company that makes a profit by cramming CRT into public schools.
Yeah, exactly. So this is why Merrick Garland was nominated. Same reason why Obama nominated Eric Holder. He wanted a high-profile...
Because he wanted somebody who would go in and fire prosecutors that refused to prosecute men who had clearly acted in self-defense and replace them with squishy little women who would toe the party line and commit crimes on behalf of the administration by prosecuting people where there wasn't a reasonable expectation of a conviction. Like Littlefinger.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. We should have...
Yeah, that was packed.
Yeah, that was fantastic. There was a lot
there.
there.
I dare you to unpack that sentence.
No. We got to get off the air on time for once, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I need to roll out the door.
But this is why Merrick Garland was nominated. He was supposed to be this person. Nobody gave... It's like with Lois Lerner and the IRS. Nobody told Lois Lerner to start setting 503Cs to the side.
Correct.
Just before the election.
Right. We talked about this when it was happening. We called it fifth generational warfare. And I referred to it as amorphous warfare, which I described as and defined as being clearly distinct from asymmetrical warfare. The amorphous warfare involves a level of communication where I do not need to explain to the dedicants of my evil cult what it is that's expected of them. I don't need to give them orders or even communicate expectations to them. I know that I have brainwashed them and morally corrupted them to such a degree that I can just expect that they will go out and do the evil things that I want them to do, even if they're the evil things that I haven't even thought about yet. They're just out there doing evil that profits me. Hey, I didn't tell her to weaponize the IRS against conservative groups.
Yes.
It was just convenient.
So
now we've got Slow-Mo Joe. Well, I didn't tell Mr. Garland to go and turn all the American parents into I'd like some chocolate ice cream.
Right. So
my butt's been wiped.
Yeah. Oh, Corn Pop was a bad dude. So, okay. You pointed out that there is breaking the law and there is defying the law. Look, this is a congressional subpoena. Steve Bannon did defy a congressional subpoena. And we need to put this into proper context, okay? Let's say that the Republicans controlled everything, that Donald Trump had won re-election, and we were investigating the funding behind... Hypothetically, YouTube. And we were investigating
Let's say hypothetically that a Supreme Court was willing to do its job. Sorry.
And we were investigating the funding behind BLM. And there were folks that defied subpoenas to come to Congress to explain how in the world Antifa and BLM got the money and the coordination and everything else, and why it seemed like a good idea to burn all these cities down all at the same time last summer. If people defied those subpoenas, we'd want for there to be indictments and bench warrants issued for their arrest, okay?
Oh, like if hypothetically there was a major important political figure who destroyed a bunch of evidence after it had been subpoenaed.
Yes. So let's be clear. Bannon is outside the bounds of the law. And I believe it was Abraham Lincoln who said, if you want a bad law to hurry up and go away, enforce it as it's intended. Okay? And I'm also going to reference Martin Luther King Jr. That man got arrested a lot. It's a thing that happened. And he did things that were outside the law. But again, he would deliberately insert himself into situations to expose bad law or hypocritical laws, doing simple things like trying to order a sandwich at a whites-only lunch counter, for example. I don't think that this is terribly different with Steve Bannon, because Bannon knows this is a witch hunt. He knows it. And it's entirely possible that both for his own personal self-interest and for the good of the cause, because love Bannon, hate Bannon, dude's consistent. He's basically on our side, and he's got the juice to make things happen. So he might just be looking at this whole situation and saying, no, I know if I turn over this paperwork, the whole thing with January 6th being an insurrection is a lie anyway, right? So they're going to take...
Yeah, and real quick, that's not an opinion. That's something that we say advisedly based on the testimony of the FBI, according to the evidence that it has tried. And the FBI has come out and said there is no evidence that January 6th was an organized, coordinated insurrection activity. Understand, that's coming from an FBI that is politically motivated and weaponized to find precisely the opposite finding.
Right.
They wanted to find Russian collusion and couldn't.
Exactly. So when you got to deal with Bannon here, who understands that his testimony and paperwork will be used in a similar fashion. Everything that happened on January 6th was in your face and it looks super scary, and now we can run with the narrative forever that Donald Trump tried to do a failed insurrection. Okay? And Bannon knows all this and refuses to take part in it. So here's a thought. What if Bannon just said, you know what? The most they can give me is a year. The most they can find me is $1,000. I'm rich as shit. I can hire great lawyers. I can get this knocked down to a 30-day sentence. And that'll be that. And then here's the real thing. And I wish we knew some lawyers who could answer this question. If he defies the subpoena and refuses to testify, and let's say he gets sentenced to 6 months, and he does his 6 months, is he free and clear? Is he now like, well, yes, I don't have to...
That's not how that's going to work, unfortunately, but...
Oh,
Mayo Monkey, what up?
Well, you do reach a certain point, though, where, I mean, how many times can you try a person over and over and over again for the same crime? But look, suffice it to say, while I think the reasons Bannon was subpoenaed were corrupt, Bannon still defied a congressional subpoena. So, in a technical sense, him being indicted is legally correct. Ethically, it stinks.
Well, I think what's going to happen is Bannon's going to fight this. And Steve's right. So much for 5 minutes early. We're going to have to get going. Bannon's going to fight this, obviously. And unless the justice system is just completely corrupt, which is not a possibility I'm willing to ignore, the charges will have to be vitiated based on the illegitimacy of the original subpoena. It's going to be proved that, at least to some degree, the Congress did not have the authority to issue the subpoena that it issued based on the question of executive privilege. And it doesn't even have to be proved that the executive privilege protected the documents. All that's got to be shown is that the subpoena was issued before the question of the executive privilege's protection of the documents was ever adjudicated. So he was subpoenaed and indicted based on documents which may or may not be privileged communications between he and the president. And so there is nothing there that says that the subpoena was legitimate to begin with. The subpoena was illegitimate on the face of it. Right? Marley was dead in the beginning.
Right. Now, but still, he defied it. And this is one of those things, y'all. I want to be really careful about lionizing anybody, but Bannon might be taking this one on the chin for all of us. Like, no, screw you. I'm old. I'm rich. Fine.
You want to ride this train? Let's
ride
go
it.
choo-choo. All right. Y'all be safe out there. Hopefully we'll have a little more time tomorrow morning, and we will see you tomorrow.